too much. I've got too much. I've got too much in my inventory. So I'm over
Hey, you're finally awake. You're trying to cross the border, right? Walk straight into that Imperial ambush, same at us and that thief over there. Damn you, Stormcloaks. Skyrim was fine till you came along. Empire was nice and lazy. If I hadn't been looking for you, I could have stolen that horse and be halfway over the Hammerfell. You there, you and me, we shouldn't be here. And speaking of people who shouldn't be here, welcome to the inaugural episode of Encumbered, the gaming podcast no one asked for. I'm Tom. You may know me from the fantasy football world, but if not, hello. I'll be your captain overseeing this vessel for the duration of the show's life, which may be just for the summer, but who knows, could be something which takes on another life going forward. Hope you like the intro. I'll be joined by a few mates you may know already from the fantasy football community for this. There's 5 of us, but we're on a rotation a bit, so we're not overwhelming with new voices and so on. 4 of us on in a minute. And first mate steering the ship, PJ, the artiste, formerly known as Hindu Monkey. How are you, mate? And what are you playing right now?
Thanks, Tom. Great to be here. You were my very first entry into the FPL community many years ago, and I begged you for years to bring me on as a guest as your pod, and that was constantly rebuffed in light of the fact that I played FPL, well, exactly like I game, which is ironic, really, like a self-righteous little bitch. Delighted to be on here with you, with Chef, I've known for years, and Nima, because apparently no spin-off from the FPL community is contractually obliged to happen without his omnipresence. But more about his absolutely massive FOMO later. But yeah, great to be here.
Nice one. Yes, our socials, if you want to follow us on them, are 0VER_encumbered. So, 0 over encumbered on Musk's shit show, and over encumbered pod on Blue Sky. And it's the same if for some reason you want to watch us rather than listen to us on YouTube. Yes, and joined today, as PJ said, by 2 of our roster of miscreants, Nima, aka the sickest fuck you can ever imagine. He's got more games than he has. Well, I'm not going to say that bit out loud. And Chef, aka Dale. What's going on, Nima? How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great, guys. Nice to be here for the inaugural episode, and kudos to you, Tom. Thanks for putting it together. We'll talk about my sickness later for sure. I don't want to dive right into it, but we'll save some spoilers.
Yeah, no, a million games on the go. I'm glad you made time today, dear mate, and Dale as well. You're right, mate.
Yeah, not bad.
Oh, it's the old leg.
My leg's still fucked, but
well,
it is what it is.
You don't need legs to game, so we're all good. Right, before we get into it, what are we all playing at the moment? So me and PJ was having a chat before we joined. I was strong-armed into playing Expedition 33, which is very, very, again, not in my wheelhouse at all. JRPG, turn-based combat, it's never normally my thing. But now I've played it for about 3 or 4 hours. I'm absolutely fucking loving it. Like I think after KCD2, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which is like my best game I've ever played, basically. Need a bit of a mourning period, ready to just get in something meaty. And this is just like the Dragon Age Veilguard I wanted, basically, without the Disneyfied nonsense and the and the really, really bad new combat system. It's just bloody awesome, isn't it? I know you're playing it too, BJ.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic, and also obviously just came from Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 as well, and thought can I really kind of dive in straight away to something like this, but just ticks every box, looks so good, plays so good, and ironically, one of the recurring themes you'll find of this podcast, we were introduced to this game by Nima and Chef, who then just fucked it off after about 10 hours to go and play something else, leaving me and you, the ever completionists, to pick up that torch and carry it to the finish line. But yeah, not there yet, about halfway through the game, I think, probably about 50-60% through. And all I'll say to whet your appetite is that it just gets better and better. Once you learn more and unlock more, it's just so satisfying. And the story has wormed its way into my head. Initially, I was a bit like, really, but now, yeah, I'm really starting to take hold. Yeah, fantastic game.
It's haunting stuff, isn't it? But Nima, you're there with about 1 million games on the go, as we've already hinted at. Have you bought a Switch 2 yet? Busy playing Mario Kart, as well as League of Legends, as well as Expedition 33, as well as Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, as well as everything else you're possibly playing? I mean, we really mentioned your sickness. Let's get into it. What is your sickness? Can you explain it for the good people?
So I think I spend more time looking or like window shopping games that are either coming out or that are on sale than maybe I actually do playing games. So I feel like compared to some of the people here who actually complete storylines, others like Paddy next week who even get platinum trophies, I do very much feel like an imposter among us. But that said, I'm glad we were able to introduce 33 to you. No pun intended.
Is it just obviously we've already hinted at your, how regularly you seem to be, present in anything related to the FPL community, which we all come from initially. Anyway, you're at every event, you're on every podcast, you're on every platform. Is this just massive FOMO? You have to try every game?
It could be, and I think maybe Dale understands it better because I feel like he's the only other person who has the same library, if not bigger. Dale's
on we'll come to Dale shortly. Dale is on a string of prescriptive and non-prescriptive medication at all times. What's your excuse?
That's a good point. That is a very good point. So what I will say, for example, I have stuck with Mario Kart since Thursday. So when the Switch 2 released, I had a delivery and I haven't actually played any other game since. So that's like, I think, an improvement. What's that, 4 days, 5 days? I've just played a single game. But I don't know if we're lost.
What's the inventory system like on Mario Kart?
So interestingly, I know we're going to get to the game types later, but so I won't spoil that. But one of the things in it is there's a lot of collectibles, right? Like unlocking new drivers, new cars, stickers, etc. And there's a free roam mode for the first time. So I've just found myself like, instead of being on a pause menu, scrolling my phone and looking at new games to buy, I'm just kind of doing little objectives and challenges. And
you found yourself actually playing the game. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I'm actually playing it.
What a new. Let's bring Chef in. How does this differ? Sorry, Tom. Do you want to go first?
No, I was going to say you're literally a fodder for microtransactions, aren't you? In game, like if there's some like internal menu, and you're like, oh shit, I could buy this, I could buy that, I could buy that. Oh my goodness, so many possibilities, man. That's literally you.
That's what pass.
Yeah, so Dale, Chef, you're a little bit kind of similar, a little bit different. I'm scattergun.
More of a tight ass than Nima. Like, I will not buy something unless it's on sale, really, or if I can't find a good deal online. I will definitely not touch the microtransactions ever. Like, I'm just tight. I'm a Yorkshireman artist, so I'm tight. But yeah, like I understand Nima's like playing 10, 15 games at once. Like, it's different games have different functions, don't they? I have a couple of games that I play casually. I have a couple of games that I play pretty religiously and hardcore, and then there's just whatever else in between. I mean, at the minute, it's kind of dictated by my Palm Quad and the pain medication I'm on. So, like, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, I ain't touched that because I ain't got the concentration level for it. But, like, I'll play stuff casually, like, I don't know, I'm playing MLB The Show 25 at the minute. Pretty casually, because it's pretty easy to play.
There's definitely different types of games that I think tick certain boxes and fulfill certain moods. But you're a little bit different you've got the Nima sickness in terms of playing a lot of games on the go at once. But then you also like mass complete a few games. Cyberpunk, which we'll say off the bat, we know you're a massive fan of.
I've completed
7, 8, 9 times.
I'm on my 10th.
So when you play Cyberpunk, are you doing that casually? Maybe not now, but certainly those second, third, fourth times. Were you just doing Cyberpunk, blitzing it all the way through, or were you actually doing it whilst juggling 3 or 4 other casual games, as you call them, in the background?
No, I'll juggle like at least 6 games, I'd say, maybe 7.
What the fuck?
Nice. That sounds like a minimum. I'd struggle to get my backlog down to 6 or 7. I think you've seen the screenshot. They saw the word rotation and panicked when they saw there was like 10 games in rotation plus like 20 stories.
Let me open my Steam.
It's just a disgrace. Like I've literally only got bandwidth for one game. I don't know whether it's just the way I'm wired, but I hyper focus on one game. And I really like to kind of be in the story.
At best two.
Yeah.
Best two.
If the second game's like a Blatro or something, then I completely, absolutely, it's a side game. Slay the Spire, perfect. But I can't be playing like, Oblivion and Expedition at the same time. I couldn't.
That would be psychotic.
Exactly, that'd just be absolutely sick.
Pretty easily done.
Don't the control schemes alone? Just like, don't you have to like constantly, Nima? I know you say every time he's like, "Oh, I'm going to give Bloodborne another crack." 2 minutes later, I get a string of text messages just saying how fucking hard it is because he's forgotten all the controls.
Yeah, it's never
good.
played it
in a row. If you played it in a row, you'd master it.
That is true, but no, I think Bloodborne. I got a bit further with that, but Elden Ring, I was very much in the early stages, even after like 30 hours. And it's the same with Returnal. I find a lot of these type of games, you have a different skill ceiling. I know we laugh at the guys who complete games with bongo drums and dance mats and trumpets, but
they are.
And they get 0 hit, no armor, right? So that's a different level, but you're kind of close to them. And I think Paddy is the only other person here, apart from you, who, with his kind of platinum sickness, the two of you are the closest thing we have to a Guitar Hero Elden Ring player. You're like our main roster guys. You two are the completionists.
Oh yeah, I think completing the story at a decent level is always kind of where it's at, unless it's a game that I'm doing story mode on because I've played a really hard game. I'm like, I just want to relax for a bit, Right, well, interesting stuff. Welcome all. So yeah, I suppose we better do a bit of introductory stuff while we're here and sort of move us on a tiny bit. And I don't know. In terms of what this pod is and isn't for, I suppose, PJ, it's easier to lay out what it's not for. So it's not going to be kind of previewing upcoming games and talking, massively about gaming news and things like that. And it isn't by extension going to cover every fucking base going. So due to our experience, there'll be several games we just don't cover basically. So something like Animal Crossing, Fortnite. I'm sure Nima's got both of those games in his rotation. Stardew Valley and shit like that. Yeah. That stuff's not going to be on. But I suppose PJ it's the idea of kind of just being 3 or 4 ordinary guys chatting in the bar talking about games, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And we kind of formed this like little kind of group, and with a few others, like we said, Paddy, Bobby, who, a few others who might be dropping by over the coming weeks. Just because generally speaking, we love that kind of particular kind of type of kind of game, of those the role playing games, the linear kind of action adventure sort of games, the more maybe some of the hardcore puzzle platform sort of games as well. We're not going to be talking about Tony Hawk's or Madden here. There's other kind of podcasts for that. We know that, but that's not really where I think we can lift the hood up from why we game and kind of how we game and what motivates us.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think just another bit of introduction here. That there's something that we kind of looked at a little while ago, a little WhatsApp group of very mature men. Apologies, it is men. It's not by design. It's just the way it is. Don't cancel us. But the idea of Bartles as gamer types, which I think is quite an interesting thing. So some dude in the 90s basically created this kind of quadrant to help understand the types of gamers we are, which I think holds up really well even now. So there's kind of 4 of them, right? There's these killers, these players who enjoy creating chaos and challenging authority by attempting to alter the function of the game's world and trying to affect the experience for other players. I think PvPers, Chef, fuck shit up. PvPers in MMOs, FPS purists who only play Call of Duty RPGs where you're the hero, but playing it as an anti-hero. So Cyberpunk, playing it in kind of full-on rebel mode, and FIFA/FC griefers, I guess, maybe go into this. Now, the next one is Achievers. Their goal is to accumulate status, loot, and points, basically just completing the game as far as you possibly can by winning basically all the mechanics through. And you tend to follow the game rules, unlike the killers. So an RPG purist would probably be like this. An FC Ultimate Team player, maybe. Football Manager careerists, essentially. MMO PvEers, so environment versus players. And if you're playing a linear RPG. Next, you've got the explorers. So they like to discover the systems that govern the function of the game world and all this sort of thing, just going out of bounds, trying to figure out, where all the hidden packages are, trying to figure out all the loot is. Like if the main path is telling you to go right, you go left, which is kind of just the way I'm basically wired. So you think about RPGs with exploring / survival element, like No Man's Sky, but most RPGs in open world are kind of like this. And finally, the socializers, which is very, very much Nima. They want to form connections with other players by telling stories, sharing tactics, and working together within the game. I feel quite fun just to think about exactly where we stand on all these. So just as an idea, I'm definitely an explorer / kind of achiever hybrid. I play as a paragon like all the time, and I know you do, PJ, as well. And so, Mass Effect
Well, you
3,
say that, Tom, but you recently did you did get the dark ending to Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 because you killed several people in cold blood.
I mean, a little murder here and there isn't going to hurt anyone. My mum and dad were judgmental fucks, frankly. I mean, the guy came in when I was robbing a store. It's not my fault that I had to silence him. But yeah, I mean, you got stuff like that, and but I do like the completion side of it as well. I'll do every side quest I possibly can if I like the game. But unlike I met Paddy, who we'll meet next week, I'm not sick in the head to the extent that I platinum everything. So time is much more limited these days, and I've also got like an enjoyment threshold. Like if it's not fun anymore, I'll just stop doing it. So like GTA 3, PS2, getting all the hidden packages was the last time I did something like this. And normally I'm just like, nah, that's not worth it. And if you chuck in the bloated mess that was Assassin's Creed Valhalla as the epitome of this, you should quickly come to realize, if you're a rational person, shit, this really is not worth anybody's time whatsoever. So yeah, I'm very much kind of achiever, explorer, just trying to max out my experience basically in the world effectively. What about you, Nima? Where do you stand in all this? Is it just that I think you're a socializer, right? You're playing games for the conversation that kind of splinters off from them. Say, oh yeah, I've played that. Although really, it's the character creation screen you've seen, really. Let's face it.
There are some games where I must admit, I know it's a joke, the character creation screen, but there are some games where I think I've only got so far as that and maybe the prologue, and then I just kind of give up. But I'd say definitely socializers. But the problem is there isn't that opportunity in the modern world that I don't find. I know there's online gaming, and like even today, technology has brought us together to chat about games, right? Our passion. So, but overall, what got me into gaming was like couch co-op, and growing up playing games that I didn't have like consoles for, going to people's houses and seeing consoles. It was more magical back then. Like every console release was special. And I got my first console was actually a PS1 in 1998. And it's like ever since then, I've always had a console from each generation. And sometimes I've gone between like Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo. I've kind of moved between them. I've had PCs, right? So
yeah,
I've tried everything, mobile gaming, every possible type, board games, offline. And nothing comes back more to me for gaming than when I used to play with people and do like split screen and complete campaigns together, or play multiplayer party games. That's kind of my core memory of gaming, I would say. So definitely socializers. And that later kind of finalized with me playing World of Warcraft around the Wrath of the Lich King days, and doing raids, PvP. Yeah, so I didn't play it as much. I was 17 back then, and then when the pandemic came, Classic came out. So then I did Classic for the first time, 40-person raids. Was in Discord voice chats. So I definitely would say socializer is right, but nothing beats when I was doing it offline with friends and we all had a lot more free time. Now I can afford all the games I want, but I just don't have the time to play them, as the sickness, as we know.
Yeah, buy them all. My God, Chef, it's the same for you. It's not the same for you though, is it, Chef? I mean, Peter said earlier on, like you've got one side of it where you're a bit of a killer, right? You like to just fuck shit up, but also on the other side of it, like with a game like Cyberpunk, you'll literally just be like, right, some small mod comes out or a slight hotfix comes out, like, right, I'm playing it again. Like, where do you sit on this? Do you think, Dale?
Yeah, that's probably accurate. I used to be a socializer. I used to just play exclusively like Battlefield Bad Company 1 and 2, and probably Battlefield 3. And then as my life's changed, I don't play multiplayer at all. I couldn't think of anything worse. But yeah, I'm pretty much just the first one, the killer, and the other one you said. What was the other one?
The Achiever.
Yeah, so like, I mean, there's a update coming up for Cyberpunk. I think either next week or the week after, and so I'll probably load it up. I would imagine.
Do you just get pink hair? Of course, you get pink hair. Do you get multicolored hair? Is that the thing that's drawing you back in? You fucking love that game, man. You're just literally the ultra of ultras.
Have you completed Roach Race yet on it?
Have I completed what? Sorry.
Roach Race. Have you even the mini game? Have you even got the Roach Race outfit? Come on.
Why? Who gives a fuck about that?
And PJ
Like-
likes to complete the side quests in Costa del Sol.
Yeah, I
Funny
do.
thing
But
is,
I've got a limit. But yeah, sorry, Chef. Yeah.
I've got 100% platinum, whatever you want to call it, on Cyberpunk, but I still haven't discovered everything. Like I think there's like 500 secrets on the map, so I've still got a bunch of stuff to do. Barely.
I'm gonna join you, Dale. I'm gonna wait for Cyberpunk 2 to go on sale on Switch 2, and it's cross save. So apparently, I can bring my 90-hour file from PC and play it cross. Yeah. So I'm thinking I'm gonna try that out, and if I'm like on a plane playing Cyberpunk, that will feel so cool, and I cannot wait.
Is that just you on the pause screen, Nima, while you're playing another game on your PC? That's what 80 of the 90 hours is. You're still in the plaza. You haven't moved from there. Have you?
Yeah.
Sorry, PJ, but you're very, very similar to me, aren't you?
I think I probably am. I similar to what Nima said. To be fair, when I was younger, I definitely was more of a socializer, and that was my route into games. It was always through co-op, and it wasn't until really the kind of pandemic and I got really back into games, and I played. I played The Witcher 3. That was the door unlocker for me, that game, which brought me into that world of single gaming and really like big immersive RPG single gaming. And from that, I kind of got the bug of that kind of full kind of explorer, which kind of then kind of blended into kind of achiever as well, really. But I think now when I play a game, I'm certainly not a completionist like the way that someone like Paddy is who wants to platinum it. But I want to beat the game, and that's my motivation when I start. I want to beat this game, but I will beat it by any tools necessary. I'm not kind of precious about it. I'm not going to try and make it deliberately harder for myself. If there's
hold on, that's not true. That's not true. I told you how to cheese KCD's dice game, and you called me unrepeatable names.
Yeah, that's because the dice game was fun. So I was like, "You're ruining the fun by trying." If something's fun, I'll do it. But like there's on Claire Obscura, there are, which you've probably not come to the Gestrel beaches yet. There are absolutely mind-numbingly awful parkour sections which you have to perfect to get a fucking swimsuit.
I'm not
trophy.
Doing that. I'm not.
Yeah, no, exactly. But if there was so I'm not doing that either because I cannot be bothered.
Takes 1 minute to do.
Chef, you've not done all of them. Show me your collection of swimsuits. That's could be taken out of context.
But right now, you want me to go?
Clip that.
If there was a way for me to cheat to do that, I would do it. But if there isn't, and I've got to go through all the things, that's when I'm like, I do a Tom, as it were, and just whack it down to story mode. So.
But do you remember the chocobo in was it that valley?
Yeah. We see at the start of Final Fantasy, I was like, I'm going to complete everything. And then, by the time I got halfway, by the time I got to that casino section in Final Fantasy Rebirth, I was like, I fucking complete everything.
Once you saw how many mini games there were alone, it just dawned on you that the card game is good enough to finish.
Yeah, we did warn you about that.
Yeah, I don't think some of them are meant to, because some of them are so ludicrously difficult. But what was it? Is it the piano one? That's the hardest minigame I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I got to see in every single.
That's what I've done. Yeah, just I played it. There you go. Move on.
Have you guys played any like Yakuza in the past? Because that's like chock block full of mini games, isn't it? In the same sort of vein. And there's some which I remember the karaoke was more than doable, but there were some. I've got memory of like playing with. Admittedly, I was probably taking some of Chef's non-prescription drugs at the time, but I've got memory of like playing with like little vehicles or something like that, and it just being absolutely impossible to time it. Like I'm sure it's like 100 different mini games in that, and those things I think can be very good, but ultimately I'm quite glad they're skippable because they're just so like fiddly. That's what I hate about it. I remember like GTA 3, there was like that mission where you had to fly like a little like plane around, and that was like one of the hardest like missions I've ever done. I remember Vice City, but
do you remember in Vice City there was the ones with the motorbike, and you had to start near the casino, and you had to like drive and go on top of rooftops and go up ramps and make jumps and get through the time hoops in time.
So glad on GTA 4 they stopped let you go.
If they're optional and they're ultimately just for kind of essentially kind of cosmetics, I don't mind them. I'm not mad like Paddy who wants to kind of do them all to kind of get a trophy. So that's fine if they're like, well, all you're going to get out of this is a tick in a box and a little bit of a swimsuit. But it's the games. I think it was Phoenix Rising, which is a bit of a Zelda clone, where you had to complete these bastard challenges to like literally like upgrade your weapons and stuff. So it was like, what? I've got to do these.
Yeah,
and yeah, that's where it really like winds me up. I'm like, come on, put this like massive button coordination bash behind a collectible, for God's sake. Don't make it plot specific.
Oh, so sick. And I remember there was one on Phoenix Rising where you had to like guide the arrow through.
Yeah,
those
the arrow.
loops,
It was
right?
so hard.
And I got to a point where I was just like, this is not fun, and I'm just stopping. I don't care that I've got a whole game to play here.
No.
I'm just not.
I got my daughters to do them in the end. True story. She did them for me. So,
what do you think about mini game only kind of games? Like say something like a Mario Party or
Mario.
Did you ever play Crash Bash on the PlayStation back in the day? Crash Bash.
Yeah.
Like
but surely that's for co-op purposes, isn't it? You're not playing out by yourself, are you?
No, I think Mario Party you can play online, but it is definitely obviously like you're with the family, you're at a cottage in Wales, not too specific like it happens or anything.
In Wales, right?
And
then
that's
the only place you can play.
Like fire, there's a fireside, like a fireplace, a wood fire going, and you're just kind of playing Mario Party, and that's. But the reason I mentioned it's like 100 mini games, right? So I'm saying like, would you ever get a game that's only mini games in it? Like it doesn't have a linear story of any kind. It's just like, let's say like Super Smash Brothers or like what do you guys think about fighting games?
Not for my own personal benefit. Again, co-op, yes, but never on my own.
I've never play like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter on your own, right?
I did when I was young, but not now. Never. Like,
I've definitely played Mortal Kombat, man.
Because Chef recently bought the Dragon Ball Z Sparkling Zero. That's why I brought it up, and I was looking at that as a fighting game, but
I might dive into Chef. You love the is it Ninja Rain? That's probably not Ninja Garden, is it? I can't remember.
Ninja Garden.
Yeah. There's a new one of that coming out, which I might die. Is that like fighting RPG, or is that just pure fighter?
No, it's more like what do you call it? It's like I forgot what you call them.
Levels, right?
It's like RPG, I guess.
Action platformer.
Yeah. You're just kind of making your way through levels of bad guys. Like
think like I'm trying to think like games like Tomb Raider.
Okay.
Or like Streets. It's like a modern version of Streets of Rage or something like that.
Streets of Rage. I was just thinking that. I was going to say Double Dragon, and then I thought that's going to make me sound so old.
It's a bit different.
I'm going to have to Google what that is. Hang on.
It's like, which decade is it from? I don't know if people who game today are still around.
It's still around.
Classic. Double Dragon's a classic,
1987 beat 'em up. Yeah, like Yakuza's a beat 'em up, isn't it? It's very similar to that.
Yeah,
Yakuza is similar to Ninja
Gaiden. Like Battletoads and Battlemania sort of thing.
What about more story elements to it though? Like,
I think if it's got a really good story, like for me, when I'm playing, like I said, two-side, I like co-op, and I still play co-op games with my kids. It Takes Two is fucking excellent, and I do, I like that side of gaming as well. But my main motivation for gaming these days is that kind of more single player kind of world building, and for me, I need immersion. So I don't really care what the genre is, specifically, but I kind of need to. It's that kind of escapism and that kind of almost like it's like reading to me a little bit, like getting to kind of live another life kind of within the kind of gaming world. That's why I get so fucking wound up by Nima's psychotic behavior, because I'm like, you've just been in this world. It's like, why are you just it feels like serial cheating. I don't want to throw that at you, Nima, but that's what it feels like to me.
No, I think it definitely is, and I think a lot of it is just maybe down to how you're wired and how you've kind of got here as well. Like I know you guys have kind of gone through how you got into gaming, and for me, I remember when I was like 2 or 3, we had a computer, and my dad had like Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo on it, and you had to like log in. I figured out when I was 3 how to log into it. It was like one of those really old ones where you had to like find a letter in the manual to log into it. It was very, very strange. And he played a game called Mist as well. I think Dale, you mentioned that earlier. I remember like messing up his save file when I was 4 or something like that, because I learned how to use the computer when I was 4. But I remember like being like 9 or 10 playing Premier Manager, which then became Championship Manager, which then became Football Manager, and then loads of co-op as well. Similar to you, Nima, I had like I had a PS1, PS2, and then when went over to Xbox, basically never went back. But like played a lot of Time Splitters, Pro Evo with my cousin, and then got into World of Warcraft. Similar to you, I played World of Warcraft like 16 till 18. Stopped at uni. I chose life, as Renton would say.
Thank God we did choose life.
Oh
yeah.
God, I had like there was the summer before uni, man. I played all day, went to bed at 3 a.m., woke up at 11 a.m. the next day and played all day until 3 a.m. again. It was one of the best times of my life.
I remember I missed a birthday party on like a Friday night or Saturday, whenever it was, and I showed up when it ended at like 12 at night. And everyone's like, "Where have you been?" And I'd just been like so immersed in doing whatever stupid thing I was doing. Yeah.
I was.
What was sorry, you go first, Tom.
I was just going to say it was just I was in a raiding guild. So again, Nima was saying 40 people on the team speak, I think it was back then, and like we were doing like Blackwind Lair, doing I can't remember what they even called.
It'll be like 3 hours, PJ. And
Oh yeah, 3-4 hours,
and everyone's got to be coordinated. It's like the Leroy Jenkins meme,
on
right?
mics. And I was like a 17-year-old. I was like one of the leaders of the raid, basically. So I'd be ordering around 40, 50-year-old men, like, right, who's going to be playing this like Curse of Shadows? Right, come on, mate, sort it out. Fucking hell, you fucking idiot. Like on teams, we go, oh, come on, priest, sort it out. Heal. Which is very, very strange. And then at uni, I got into Halo and Call of Duty and played that all day, all day, every day. And I got very, very good at Call of Duty, especially. But yeah, can't do it anymore. Muscle memory is just gone. Same as why you had to get your daughters to do Phoenix. Not muscle, the reflexes are not as good as they used to, honestly. But always played RPGs. I remember like playing Fallout 3 at uni when I was experimenting again with some of the chefs on non-prescription medicine, and just loving that game, and playing card games as well. Like Hearthstone. I've got to play that for a long time. Slay the Spire and Balatro. So the RPG's kind of always been there for me. But as Dale said earlier, like my life's changed. Got a kid now, and obviously work. You're mid-30s. You got to pay your fucking mortgage, and like you were saying, PJ, it's all about the immersion. It is very much like I'm replacing. I still watch a bit of TV, but I've never had the attention span for TV. I like to be kind of interacting with what's going on a little bit. So it kind of replaces sitting back and watching TV. I'll play a game, and it's the same for like, I don't know.
I mean, you don't have time for everything, do you? At the end of the day, you can't watch TV to watch movies. Read books, play football, etc. You've got to you pick and choose, and you prioritize certain things at certain points. I think I've kind of gone through all the kind of different phases, kind of through my life. But we were talking about immersion. I was wondering in terms of like it just reminded me of when I actually I took a day off work because I couldn't put God of War down. That I just so I literally just phoned in sick to play it. So I was going to ask you guys, had you ever done that? And what was the last game that you basically threw a sickie in order to complete or something?
Or alternatively, if you've never done that, a game that
because you've never played a game for a longer period.
Yeah, unless there's any games you took a day off work for, because I know there's a lot of people who book off like a Thursday or Friday
for like new releases and sort of stuff. Yeah. I had a guy who I worked with who I was really annoyed about. I wasn't particularly into. I hadn't quite kind of got the re-gaming bug yet, and he took 2 days off when I really needed him to play The Last of Us Part 2. And he just came back and I was like, "Where the fuck have you been?" It was like, "Sorry, The Last of Us 2 came out," and I was like, "You completed it in 2 days?" And he was like, "Yeah, I stayed up for 48 hours." It's like, "Well, you see you to me now."
Showing up like a zombie.
Yeah, exactly. No.
I can't remember. At uni, I remember like playing Call of Duty till 3 a.m. I always remember playing Civilization just because I kind of got it. I can't remember how I got it, right? I got it on Steam on like a sale. Like Steam was going back into 2010, 2011. And being at my uni house, and then like I'm sure Dale, you probably can, because I know you like 4A Dale as well. I remember started the Civilization game. I was Mansa Musa, and I just started playing. And I remember looking, it was like 11 p.m. Right, that's fine. a few beers later, shall we say. And I remember looking at the clock and it being like 4:30 a.m. I was like, oh my god, I was in like kind of the space age era, but like I think that's probably the last one. I lectures the next day. I didn't go because I was just like, well, it's written off now. It's fine. So I think I probably played for another half an hour until I could literally physically couldn't play anymore. God, I mean, Dale, you play a lot of those games as well, right? I mean, they can get quite into it. Anything you've missed work for or missed studies for or anything?
To be honest, I don't think I've ever rang in sick for a game. Whether you believe me or not, so it doesn't matter, I guess. But I've definitely fucked off uni to play COD 4 when that came out. But that was like a long time ago. But how old's COD 4 now? That must be like 2009, something like that.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. I remember playing that.
But yeah, like 4X games, God, I could stay up all night playing those. Like, it's true what they say about Civilization, just one more 10, and that turns into about another 100 or whatever. And next thing you know, it's like 2, 3 in the morning. Definitely getting too old for that now, though. I'm like 40 this year, so I can't do that. But I'm pretty good at managing my work around game releases, moving shifts around and stuff like that. So I don't really need to ring in sick anymore.
Well, good for you, Mr. Paragon over there. Some of us, have to, sometimes put work on hold in order to kind of,
Well, it's the beauty of working. I
game.
work shifts, mate, so it's the beauty of working shifts, isn't it? So
that's true. I'm a slave to 9 to 5. But anyway, let's move on to our kind of topic of the week, as it were. So each week we're kind of gonna take a look at a kind of particular kind of gaming mechanic, really. So we can hopefully have a bit of an interesting discussion about that aspect of gaming, what we like about it, what we don't like about it, and we thought we'd kick things off with the fascinating world of being over encumbered. So inventory management. Yes, I know I can hear those collective sighs in my voices, particularly from people from Ireland. But this is a bread and butter staple of role-playing games, and probably one of the biggest frustrations when we play role-playing games is managing your fucking inventory. So my first question off the bat, I'm going to hand over to Tom, is Nima, have you ever played a game long enough to actually become over encumbered?
I think Witcher 3, and I remember wondering what was wrong.
You think Witcher 3, that 11-year-old game?
No, but I think that was the first time I got to that stage of actually being it's the first time I remember, like, it definitely happened in that game, because one of my favorite mechanics about it, I guess, which kind of is a segue from here, is I love the potion you could have, or I think it was an elixir, where it would actually increase how much your maximum weight you could carry was, just briefly for like 1 hour or like half an hour. And I just love that element of it. But I'll be honest with you, generally being over encumbered is not a mechanic I personally enjoy. I guess it forces you to sell stuff, maybe dismantle stuff, but I find a lot of that a bit painful. I know, Tom, when we all played kind of Hogwarts Legacy, it's not necessarily inventory management, but it might as well be. The kind of room of chambers, it was something that for him, it's like he will just skip if he can. Whereas I did everything to get the trophies, and I breeded all the animals.
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that at all. My room of it's like the same as like bases and any games like Fallout or whatever it was. Like I can't remember what the place was called in Fallout 4. The kind of the hometown. I need to look that up. Like mine was just such a joke. And then same with No Man's Sky, right? When they brought in that, like my like base was literally just like what you had to complete, like in a tiny space, just all the things just shoved next to each other. Right, I've done that. I'm moving on. I'm just not interested at all in this shit. Like, but I suppose like being over encumbered, I suppose we took the name of the pod, just to mention that very quickly, because it is such a name that's known to gamers effectively. Like it's a phrase you only know if you played RPGs. I'm pretty sure it's one of those kind of words that doesn't really get thrown around at all. I'm over encumbered with this shopping deer. Is that something you're ever going to be saying when you march in from Sainsbury's or Lidl or something? No, probably not. But I don't know. There's lots
precisely because it is such a frustrating. It's such a frustrating mechanic, in the one sense. But I think we want to, like, what games do it well. to you, because there are some whereby it can be integrated seamlessly into the kind of game, but then there are others. I mean, let's start with Skyrim, probably the biggest RPG out there, with one of the worst inventory systems known to man. Just a list of fucking things that you pick up, which you kind of almost have to go through individually and then kind of drag and drop into various other kind of sub areas if you want to use it. I mean, it's just a mess. And how much time did we spend? If Skyrim's a 150-hour game, how much time of that is spent literally sifting through your bloody inventory, or just buying and selling shit over and over? It's ludicrous, really.
It was a fucking disaster, the whole thing. And then the Oblivion remaster recently as well, exactly the same problem. Like, surely someone somewhere must have sat there and just gone, hang on, a big long list about much sorting. Oh yeah, it's A to Z, or sort by weight. I mean, what fucking use is that to me? It's such a disaster. And those sorts of games, I don't know about you, but that sort of thing is a bit of an immersion killer for me. I just kind of see that, and I just think, well, like, you could have given this a tiny bit more thought. In my view, and I think you probably touched home with what you said, Nima, there, the best sort of way this can be presented is when you don't really think about it. It's like a referee in football. The best thing is when the referee isn't mentioned, or you forget the referee's on the pitch. The inventory is exactly the same. And the worst thing in the world is when you've just kind of, spent ages in a dungeon or something like that. You've been looting everything and you're having a great time. And it's the biggest immersion killer ever when you try to go back to town to sell all your shit. And it says, you're over encumbered and cannot fast travel. You're over encumbered and cannot run. You're over encumbered and can't even get on a fucking horse. Like, it's just such a joke. I know that there's some realism. Like KCD2, yeah, okay, sets it all out. It's a realistic game. I get it. I can understand exactly what you're saying, right? Henry can't carry all the stuff. I understand that a little bit more. But in games like that, when it's kind of fantastical, high fantasy and things like that, it's just
magic powers, yeah. And then they can't carry an extra leaf.
Bethesda are absolute criminals for it. It's not. I mean, Starfield was a disaster. I had to fucking travel to my ship every time I wanted to store metal. The Fallout games. I mean, Fallout 4. You start playing Fallout 4, you pick up stuff. You have to store it in different places. You have to kind of work it out, and you have to break down stuff to build shit. It's like, what the fuck, Chef? Just to bring you a game I think that does it really well. Actually, is Cyberpunk. It's really clear. It's really easy to kind of. It already kind of like sub filters like clothes, the kind of like money, everything for you. And I certainly, I remember finding the inventory of that, but you'll know it better than me because you've poured 700 hours into it. Just like quite fun, like.
Yeah, it's the way it's set out, and it's easy. It's so easy to access because everything's just little pictures of what you've got, and then you can break it down into like weapon type, whatever, clothes, type of clothes. It probably helps you can go to the part of your body that it attaches to, so it's further like filtered again. So yeah, it's done really well. Like, Karen was nonsensical. I think Baldur's Gate was like a really sure Baldur's Gate 3 when that initially like came out. Like, the inventory system on that was awful.
Yeah, it was terrible. It's got a lot better, thankfully, but it was terrible at first. Yeah.
Yeah, your main character just ended up carrying everything, and then trying to sort it out was just like a full day.
Yeah. You have to manually move everything.
So have you guys had those kind of sessions where, like, let's say you'll turn on the game, but then you'll never actually play that day? You just do menus, because it's a FIFA thing, right? Like FIFA Online, the menu grinding, let's call it. But it sounds like in RPGs, they have their own form of this menu grinding. But instead of getting cosmetics and skins, it's like a must do, because otherwise you're going to be over encumbered. So this is like the same mechanics as loot boxes and everything, but just free to play.
Yeah, I think to an extent. I think it's more of a.
I mean, the addictive behavior more so, like grinding like SBCs in FIFA to get extra cards, grinding things in your.
But it's more of a currency system in RPGs as well. The whole point of it really is recycling it for two main purposes: is either to get money so that you can buy better shit, or to upgrade your stuff to better shit.
What do you think about games where if you sell your junk items, you get money, so you need it, but there's a trophy that you need to find one of every type first? So I can't remember which game it was. I think it was either Witcher 3 or something similar. And I remember thinking, oh, I want to get the money in exchange for getting
Fable. Was that one of the Fable games? It might have done that.
I'll have a look into it in the background, but it was a game where, yeah, basically I wanted to sell stuff to make myself benefit, but I had to keep hold of them and hamper myself for the duration of my playthrough just so I could try to do it in one playthrough and get the trophy. And that was something that really annoyed me. So I don't know if you've ever come across like something like that, like a weird mechanic.
That sounds about as much fun as Freddy Krueger wiping my ass.
Why are these mechanics in games? Why don't we just go for, surely either one end, go for limitless inventory, just fuck it off, just say we don't give a shit, just carry what you want, pick up everything, or go for a very hyper realistic. Atomfall did this recently, where you could only literally carry like 16 items at any given time, which was kind of realistically you could be strapped to your back, which you could physically see, or in your rucksack, and so you had to constantly dump stuff and like almost gamble on what you could carry. So is that kind of old school? I remember playing kind of choose your own adventure like books as a kid, where you could where you couldn't take like a compass and a map. You could only take one, or you had to, because you could only carry one. And so Atomfall, which is obviously a good recent kind of game with lots of faults around the edges, but I liked the hyper realistic inventory system there. But that's one end of the spectrum, and like I said, there's kind of the other end. But almost every game seems to kind of settle for this kind of like arbitrary middle. You can carry some, but not all. Some things are weightless. Other things,
some things are weightless. That was the other thing I was going to mention.
What the hell?
What about transmogs as well? So what I think games that do well, and it's probably more of a WoW thing, but it is also in other games, is once you've had an item once and you sell it, you can at any point style your character with that same gear or weapon skin.
I do like that.
Even though you got rid of it.
Yeah.
So I like that, because at least it still feels like it's a collectible thing. I think Hogwarts Legacy did that.
Hogwarts Legacy did. The Assassin's Creed games do that, to be fair to them, yeah.
Assassin's Creed, yeah.
I think that's a lot of it kind of goes into this idea of like what you're talking about, PJ, like scarcity versus abundance. Like you mentioned, Atomfall, like Last of Us 2 did a great job of that as well, because resources was designed to be scarce, weren't they? And you weren't actually paradoxically worried about filling up your inventory. In fact, you were worried about conserving your resources, especially at the high difficulties, when you had literally like 7 or 8 bullets in the clip, and then you're like, shit, after this I need to kind of be really careful with my hand to hand. On the other hand, Nima and Dell, we've all played this together. Diablo 3 especially. Like, who cares? It's a game. You carry it all. You're just a fucking walking bellhop with like 5 billion items in your inventory. You can just do it. You can do it. You could carry like a full picked up Paladin's armor kit, couldn't you?
You picked up everything again. But that's such a loot boot grind game anyway, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's not kind of a classical RPG in that sense. It's
But even like in Skyrim, it doesn't really make sense, does it? Because like, let's say your carry limit's like, say it's 250 whatever, and it's trying to like hold on to this like sense of realism. You're still going to end up carrying maybe like 2 armor sets, 4 swords, an axe, 2 bows, whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like
I was saying to Tom before, in the first time I played Baldur's Gate 3, Chef, I carried the dead body of that guy from the lava zone just on me the entire game, because I didn't know what to do with it, and so absolute nightmare. I could bet, and I was playing a weak mage, so I could pick up about 4 items at any one time. Absolute stupidity.
One thing you should ask Paddy about, by the way, next week, just on the over encumbered topic, is I think Resident Evil. Talking of games like the original Resident Evil, games where
the Resident Evil system is similar. I think that's similar to Last of Us, isn't it? Yeah, that kind of one. Yeah, again, I like that. I like it if it's going one way.
But that's the only way you're going to get Paddy interested. I mean, so like try bringing a game, a franchise that he loves, right? Because he said he hates this topic.
We'll talk to Paddy about something else. Two games that I think do really well, which I wanted to mention. I'll start with the one which I know Tom doesn't want me to talk about because it's a Souls game, but Elden Ring or all Souls games has this mechanic where you can pick up absolutely everything. However, you can only equip a weight load essentially, and I really like that because it's like saying, okay, you can pick up everything, but you can only carry. You have to make sacrifices. Can I carry a sword? If I carry a sword and a shield, I can't also carry a bow. I can't carry a load of health potions, but also carry, a load of like magic potions. You've got to make that trade-off, and then you literally get a weight limit, which then affects your movement in the game. So you can play Souls games as over encumbered, but you're slow as shit. You slow roll, you're crap, but you're probably much stronger.
Isn't that the Elon Musk build?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
just like he's just got a shield on two hands and like
he's
over encumbered.
Yeah, exactly. Or you can play it like these maniacs just wearing a loincloth, just darting around all over the place. So I like that. I really do like that. We skirt over the magic of where like everything kind of goes to this kind of magical kind of chest that you pick up and then you just equip it. But aside from that, and the other game, which we'll probably come back to as we go through this pod, which I mentioned I previously took a sick day for, is God of War. God of War, far and away for me, will forever, I think, be the best example of integrating all mechanics, not just inventory, into the actual story. I have never seen a better example of a game where every time, whether it was researching the characters, the way that he wrote it in the journal, the way that they taught the combat, the way that they leveled up, all the kind of various mechanics all the way through, was built into characters that you met who then formed kind of part of that journey through you. It was so well done. I don't know if you guys who've probably played more games than me can think of anything else where that system and those mechanics are built in so well to the story as they are in God of War.
I was going to mention God of War for selling all artifacts. No, that they had that option, didn't they, when you're at the sales screen with the merchant?
Yeah, exactly. Just very quick, one bar.
That's literally like your cat is your pussy's going wild there, BJ.
Yeah, I've just let him out. He wasn't happy being in a locked room with Nima. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. But yeah, I think that's like the gold standard, honestly, about in terms of like disencumbering yourself almost like that. I think that's kind of
it was no filler. There's no filler. God of War, there's no time wasted. Everything in that game, literally, there's no pause, is progressing the story. I just thought that was so exceptional when I first played that.
It's a really clever way of looking at it. And I mean, to your point, Nima, a little while ago about spending time just doing your inventory, I've literally done that on Kingdom Come Deliverance, where I've had like stuff on my horse that I've also had to be selling, as well as what was in my inventory, and I've had to go to loads of merchants, right, and sell this shit off and be like, okay, right, this guy is completely out, doesn't have anything I need, so I'm not going to do the reciprocal transaction where I can buy something from him and sell, get something for nothing, go to another person, and then do the same thing over and over again, and literally like that'll take an hour and a half.
I was going to say, I'd
have been drinking
minimum.
I've been drinking, right? And I've been like this. I've literally spent my my precious time without toddler, without work.
You're like preparing the game to do the next thing. Yeah,
effectively.
Life admin.
And I do understand when it comes to KCD the realism of that, but when you get to a game like Skyrim, when the emphasis isn't on the realism, it's about kind of the fantastical nature of it. Like, I resent it. I eventually kind of get to a point where I just drop stuff. Like, I don't even think about like the trade-off, right? When you're over encumbered in games is always like, right, okay, how much does this weigh versus how much is a vendor going to pay me? Or in a game like Diablo, what sort of reagents can I get if I disenchant it or if I melt it down for components? But
Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 was also guilty of another one of my pet peeves, where it would just allow me to sell quest items without fucking warning. At times.
It wouldn't a lot of the time. Like I was wandering with fucking Radzig's sword. I was wandering around with like all sorts of crap in my inventory.
No, the main quest, but like the side quest. No, I sold that guy's book. Where he was about wine. I sold that accidentally. I sold some. I kept selling the tournament gear and getting like in trouble because I didn't return it. I mean, when I say that out loud, it really does sound quite tragic. But that's it's brutal.
I was going to say that back in the day on World of Warcraft, I don't know if you played before around this time, Nima. There was no buyback function, so if you sold something, it was sold. If you sold something by mistake, if you pissed around with a different build, it was gone, and you had to raise a ticket with Blizzards.
And the developer
would you.
Was it the days when
to...
also PJ, you're gonna love this. So let's say customer support. Imagine you send an email now to an online company. Back then in WoW, the game master would actually come into the game as their own virtual character and meet you in like a location and trade you like your missing gold or your item, as Tom says. So there was like a real human customer support agent with a character in the game, and
it was so weird.
That wasn't scalable though, right? So obviously they didn't do that in my era.
I was going to say the other thing about World of Warcraft was if you're a warlock, you had a certain amount of bags you had, right? And you could buy more bags effectively and make them bigger and bigger. You had to pay loads of money to do that. But you had a certain amount of spaces, and then one capacity of being a warlock, which you had to get soul shards when you killed anything, which allows you to use certain abilities, basically boiled down. And then you had to use like a bag after a while.
Special bag,
It's called a shard bag. So you lost the bag space effectively. So your inventory was fucked
compared to all the other classes in the game.
Yeah, so you were the one person who kind of lost out.
But a lot of people would lose out, I would say, because PJ, then you got like different professions. So you could only pick 2 professions, right? And let's say there's 10. So if Tom is doing his stuff, I might be doing mining and let's say blacksmithing, or I might be doing leatherworking and skinning, or herbalism and alchemy. So I might do a pair. One is a gathering profession and one is giving me the supplies so I don't have to buy them from the auction house from other players. So it became like a full economy, this game, PJ. It was crazy. Like different classes would be better at being different professions. Everyone's min-maxing like minimum percentages of doing extra 0.1.
But then you do have that. I mean, not to dwell on how unbelievably tragic all of that sounds, but
that's why I wanted to make sure you knew. Yeah.
Oh man, you still had to buy bags in Red Dead Redemption too. I mean,
it's the merchant function. The merchant function of obviously RPGs is pretty key, and I always like Chef. I always liked how, like on The Witcher, for example, you got different prices depending on how relevant it was to their skill set, what you were selling. So, like, I mean, like, do you still, when you play that, do you like sell all your swords at a blacksmith and then all your armor at an armorsmith and all your potions at a herbalist? It's like, rather than just like, can't I just fucking dump this, one bloody guy who would give me a fair trade for all of it?
Early on, yeah, because them few hundred gold difference it makes a massive difference in it. But later on, I'm probably not that asked because you're overpowered anyway, aren't you? So
yes. And do you kind of leading into, because the other kind of spin-off of this is, I'm interested in whether you guys craft on games. So do you normally you go down a route on RPGs that you buy / pick up or you craft? Is there any particular games that Tom, that you've just like loved crafting on?
No,
and I don't mean like making the potions on Kingdom Come.
Oh yeah. I'll do it if it's necessary for the game. Kingdom Come, you had to craft those potions, right? But normally, no. I'm just not a big fan of any of that.
I got really into it on Dragon Age Inquisition, just because I realized when I played it again how the crafting was so much more overpowered than the kind of buying recycling aspect.
But I could still complete the game. Like it comes down to utilitarianism.
Was that just because you put it down to story mode?
Yeah, of course I did. Yeah, I don't want to.
Did you actually get all those? What were those bloody things you had to get in Dragon Age? Those fucking shards.
I did.
They were like everywhere. They were so annoying.
I absolutely maxed it. I didn't complete absolutely every little bit of it as far as I remember, because a long time ago I made that Kunari. Josephine. Oh, what a catch! The reality was that there were a few. I think crafting touches on like the base building stuff, which is just not for me. That's fucking Animal Crossing, trying to get those people into playing games.
You don't like that,
I just hate that side of it, right? And I also hate, and this is a bit of a tangent, but I also hate that when you read reviews from people who've literally done Animal Crossing the week before, who are then going in to review a hardcore RPG. They're like, oh, the base building bit was really great, but the rest of it was really difficult, learning how to do the blocking and all the combat stuff and all the weird words they use. Oh, it's so confusing. No, it's not confusing. It's just because you're a bit of a casual. I mean, it's really frustrating. And I think that side of it really annoys me. I think we need to stop it immediately, effectively.
No, fair enough. And I'd like to apologise to all Animal Crossing.
I thought you were going to apologise to all casuals,
which have come in for a lot of
I'm a casual these days, but to be fair, is I don't.
I was going to say the irony of the man who plays on story mode calling people casuals.
I don't always play on story mode, right? I mean, have you completed Kingdom Deliverance 2? Right, it's a difficult game. It's a really hard game. What are you doing? What are you doing, PJ? I just hear meowing.
Yeah,
that
look,
poor
I
cat. Is
yeah,
disagreeing? She's just disagreeing with you vehemently.
he's fine.
What's
Nima? What's your? Let's just let's wrap this kind of section up. What's your ideal way of kind of doing that kind of mechanic in a game? As a player here who obviously kind of needs the most to somehow kind of. Have you ever completed a game in one? Like a big game.
Oh, what? Like I did just that one game.
Yeah, ever.
And yeah, loads of times. But it will be games like definitely. Witcher 3, one of them.
Witcher 3. Okay, there you go.
No, but there was a break actually. I got stuck at that. You know
so,
where
so
you
no.
No, you know the bloody Baron.
Bollocks.
No, it was more because I got stuck. The bloody Baron. I couldn't beat the abortion that you had to fight. If you remember the fetus, it was very part of the game, and it just kept killing me. And there was like a cool mechanic, maybe that parrying or something. Let's say that I hadn't learned, and maybe I'd got by cheesing it in the game up until that stage. So that's something that has happened to me in many games where you get too far and you don't learn a core mechanic early on, and then you're kind of stuck and you can't keep playing. So, no, I think what game did I enjoy that did this? I think it has to be Cyberpunk. After what we were saying earlier, that is definitely one where I just want to have infinite filtering options, sorting options. Like that's the thing I'm looking for. Even if I can have a search, I would happily type. Just let me type in the letters for what I'm looking for and filter it for me. So I want maximum freedom in the inventory management, but I also don't want to be over encumbered. So I think I like the Elden Ring model that PJ mentioned, where it's based on just what you can carry and use at the time. It's not necessarily what's in your bag to take with you.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a gold standard for me. And like we mentioned with God of War, what that means is that when you're playing, or your time is spent actually fighting or exploring, rather than in so many of these other games, you are just putting so many of your hours into this inventory management. So, and I think that's probably a good segue to kind of wrap up on, because that's kind of why we came up with this name of this pod to begin with, in terms of being over encumbered, because it is bloody frustrating. Nobody here is saying, you know what, I love being over encumbered. I love sorting through with a fine tooth comb and spending an hour on a Saturday night making sure that, Asterion and Shadowheart are carrying the same number of health potions at once, and that the scrolls that they've both got match up to their skill sets at a particular time. It's just a fucking nightmare. I don't care how realistic it is, and there's a reason why whenever mods come out for any game, the first mod every single person installs is some form of limitless weight or limitless inventory pod, because they don't want to deal with that shite anymore. And even that often doesn't get past the sorting issue. But anyway, I think we've spoken for enough about this. Been great to obviously kind of thrash this out, and I'll hand over to Tom to talk us through the kind of various socials that we're on. But we're going to be kind of doing this every week for a while, talking about various kind of factions of games, and obviously bringing in games that we know and love, whilst we do that. So, fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. I think the message of over encumbered is that it's almost like, despite the fact that there's this bit of it that's in some games that are amazing, you're still over encumbered, and you're like, oh god, I've got to spend a little bit of time messing with my inventory, and I still keep coming back and still keep playing the game and accept it as a necessary evil in some places, because we just love gaming so much, and it's just part of the fabric of who we are. And I suppose that's kind of why we do why we play, and also why we decided to do this pod too. We're at Over Encumbered Pod on Blue Sky and YouTube. Dale, I believe, is setting up a TikTok as well. He'll be the man across that most of the time. 0VER_encumbered on the shit show, aka Musk's Hellscape. That's a 0, not an O. If you enjoyed the pods, please do one of all the following if you can. Follow us on socials. if you are so well inclined, give us a 5-star rating on Spotify, iTunes, whatever you listen on, or a like on YouTube if you're listening there. Thanks so much, Nima and Dale. Nima, I assume you're off to go and start a new game now?
I may buy a new one. Yeah, I need a new Switch
Buy?
game.
Fucking
Fucking
hell.
hell.
I'm gonna buy the welcome tour for the Switch to learn
Oh
how
my
to use the
God.
console.
Buy the welcome tour.
Yeah, I know it should be. The people are saying it should be
Buy.
a packing manual.
Pay, pay actual money.
Luckily, it's like
earn.
£9, £10. It's similar to an Astros Playroom, but it's a shame you have to pay for it. But it's
Pay
still going to be
£9
worth it.
to £10 for
That's
for a
almost the price
manual.
of a pint in London these days.
What is wrong with you?
I'll get
man?
more than 1 hour enjoyment out of it.
Can't-
So
can't
that's my concept is how many hours did I play, and if I can get it down to about £5 an hour, most times I'll be happy.
You can't believe you're in profit for the majority of your games.
No, definitely I am. On the average, you got to
Well,
account for the console cost as well. So breaking even is hard enough.
We basically dollar cost averaging that. If I just buy enough quantity, I'm going to just make a bottom line. Oh my God, you're a sick fuck. And Dale, thank you very much for joining us as well, mate. Off to be a social demon, I hope, or off to go to bed, or off to go and do other extracurricular activities, I'm sure.
Starfield, Star Wars Genesis for me this evening.
Fantastic. I think just one other thing to add just before we wrap up, Tom. Just anyone who's listening, please, feel free. We are very kind of open to kind of suggestions of things you liked, things you maybe kind of didn't like. We're happy to kind of take feedback. We want to talk and chat about kind of gaming. That's what we love to do. It's Tom said at the top of a pod, it's 4 or 5 guys in a pub chatting about what they love, kind of feel to it. But if there's any particular kind of games or features to games that you want potentially us to kind of chat shit about, let's throw it in, just in the same way that I'd be that annoying person asking Big Man Bakar for a really personal question every week.
Right, time to end the pod, I think. Yeah, it's time to end the pod. Thanks all. Back next week. Stay mobile, everybody.
I've got to